It'll be brief and less analytical. Less analytical. Hi. We've talked about food, now dinosaurs and evolution and the grid. And the words that came to me is that they're just at a deeper and deeper level. In fact, right now in front of you, I'm like catching up to it, obviously, but of a new basis for faith. And I'll just stop there. That's what, there's a few other things, but I could say some other things, but.
Well, we want to define faith as going general enough that you know your potential and your goodness. And that's enough. If you can get there, then everything else will fill in with the specifics. Faith in a religious sense, or even in the sense that most people talk about it, is believing in something not yet seen. But we're not asking you to do something that ridiculous. We're not asking you to believe in something not yet seen. We're just asking you to see with your emotions.
Yeah, right.
We're asking you to interpret at deeper levels, because faith is not belief in something unknown. Faith is knowing.
Yeah.
In other words, you got to know it before it can present itself to you in fuller fashion.
The grid was so much like that. It was so easy. In fact, what occurred to me is that at some point when someone was talking, we so want to like play with the grid now so we can rendezvous with the people and the things. And it's like, I was sitting there picturing what it would feel like to less specifically just rendezvous with my inner being in the grid. And is that anything that you could...
Well, it's the most primary, elementary, important thing that you could intend. And when you do, the feeling of faith will be there. In other words, faith is the byproduct of doing exactly that. Because when you rendezvous with the source within you, you know what the source within you knows. And the source knows it even before you play it out in manifested form. So that's better. That's an even better definition of faith, isn't it? Faith is knowing what the source within me knows without life having to prove it to me.
Absolutely.
And why does source know it? Why does source have faith? Why does source know it before it is played out? Because source knows the laws of the universe and has such confidence in the consistency of the laws of the universe that source knows it can be no other way. That's faith. Believing in the law, you see. So there are people who believe in the law, they just don't believe in their mental capacity to focus.
Yeah.
In other words, I believe it can be done, I just don't believe I can do it. Or I believe that my inner being knows it, I just don't believe that I know it. And we say, well, if this time-space reality has given you a desire, it has given you the means with which to have the full manifested version of that desire. And when you know that, that's the faith that we've been trying to evoke from you, to not instilling something in another sounds like we know it and we're trying to stick it in you. We're wanting to summon it from the depths of your knowing, you see.
And we just lose that knowing so
You
that we
don't
can
lose
expand.
it. You don't lose it. You cover it up with crap.
But we come,
You cover it up. You cover it up with irrelevant things.
For expansion, though, I thought we kind of cover it up for expansion. So we come forward.
Oh yeah, there is that. Now you're talking like us. Now you're talking like your inner being. Now you're talking like someone who knows that the contrast, even in its awfulness, is something worth making peace with, because it was the basis of that. And oh, look at that.
Yeah. It just turned to it, and that whole basis of turning to it, since we're in this subtler realm. And one, there's, quote, no procrastination. There's these
subtler. What do you mean subtler? More subtle realm. What do you mean?
For instance, there's not the whoosh of the same emotional thing going outside the vortex to inside the vortex.
So you were speaking of emotion, but you were talking about the difference between subtle emotions that don't ring your bells so much.
Precisely. Thank you. And so. And inspiration has been used so much. And inspiration was really easy to kind of, that's inspiring, that's not inspiring. But in these other ones where Esther is playing around with you, apparently, with, boy, where's hope? Hope's way too far, and there's these other words, and maybe they're even different orders.
Well, the more you play with this, in other words, hope is so much better than despair.
Yeah.
But hope in relationship to knowing, huge difference. And once you've tasted knowing, hope sort of...
Yeah, totally.
Once you've tasted knowing, anything less than that isn't enough.
Right.
And that's, which means after you hang around with your inner being for a little while, you don't want to go anywhere without them. It's like your American Express card. Now that was funny. Don't you think that was funny?
And maybe that's to your point where there's increasingly less of a differentiation and there's not that separation. And maybe that's why I don't have those feelings of elation and inspiration. It's just like when you said like it and get it, like it and get it, like it and get it, because there's less separation between the two selves.
If you find yourself feeling a little bored with that, then your desire for more emphatic emotion is launched, and then something will come to you that will produce that for you. In other words, there's no right or wrong in all of this, but there is a wonderful thing about settling in to a sort of peaceful ease and flow. Because you've put enough into your vortex, the delicious delights that you're looking for, look at it this way. So let's say that there's no real whoosh. You get what he's talking about, that he's done such a good job of keeping up with who he is that there's no drama, there's not so many highs and lows as he's enjoyed before. So let's say that's the state of creating that you're at. And so, but you're still putting things into your vortex, and there's a whole lot there still that you have not manifested, that you haven't even been thinking about, that you put there at previous times of contrast. And so there's so much potential there, as we say, enough to keep you busy for 20 or 30 lifetimes, really. And so there it all is. And you're just in this good feeling place. And as we were talking about this grid, so this grid is in place and everything's lined up. And now, because you're consistently in this place of feeling worthy and feeling capable and feeling ease and feeling flow and feeling confident and feeling competent, then something or a lot of things that match that converge. And you have this powerful moment that's just exciting. So it's the evolution of or expansion of that creation that then gives you your wow. In other words, you can get to
the feeling of the expansion happening simultaneously. In a way?
Let us say it a different way. You can get so good at this emotional basis that then as the pieces begin to reveal themselves to you, it's the rendezvousing of those pieces that just knocks you over. Jerry and Esther say almost every day, after all of these years, man, can you believe that? And of course they believe it. They don't mean that it's unbelievable, but they are still thrilled at the universal's orchestrational ability to bring circumstance and events together in ways that still, after all these years, surprise and delight them and take them to deeper and deeper levels. And that's what we're talking about.
And what's so cool about what you just said is what I just tapped into is actually feeling the non-physical expansion happening out there. Feeling, rather than feeling the rendezvous or the manifestation, but feeling I've just expanded out there.
Perfect. And when you get to the place where you feel it and don't need the manifestation of it, that the feeling of it, that the grid of it is enough, then you are home free. And then the avalanche of manifestations will make you yodel down the canyon. And those who are watching you will not think you are experiencing calm. They'll think you're a maniac. with so much wonderful stuff avalanching in around you.
So the last bit, and
one more piece to that. One more piece to that is that in all of this, you're a teacher to the core of your being. So not only do you get the thrill of watching it happen in your own life, but you get to watch it happen in the lives of those around you. And no matter how mundane your creation begins to feel to you, it's always going to ring your bells to watch them get it, and 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 them get it.
Yeah, and that's fantastic. I know there's a false premise maybe in this last little bit, but there's a part of me, and maybe it's just maybe a latent way of being. But the concept of leap of faith, it seems like because you said you wait for inspiration, but we're not playing with those same words in that same arena.
We think leap of faith is a little bit like the Big Bang. They're little bangs and they're little leaps. Because if you try to leap too far, you don't make the jump. Leap of faith, what people mean by it is just proceed as if it's going to be all right, even though the evidence doesn't show it.
Yeah, and that's what I mean by the different basis of faith, is the words that you just used there could be interpreted in an old way or in this new paradigm, a new vocabulary.
Don't you love the expansion?
Yeah, thank you.
Isn't it ringing your bells? Don't you love the new way of talking about it?
Yeah.
Wouldn't you like to take every process that we've ever talked about and bring it forward into the vortex and reinterpret it from the new dynamic?
Oh, wow.
Wouldn't you like to know why everything that's been working for you worked for you from the vortex point of view? Wouldn't you like to take everything and now apply it to the grid? That's what you're going to be doing over the next weeks and months. You're going to, from this new understanding that you have, now everything that you've ever understood or known is going to take on new life, and it's going to be more meaningful, and it's going to surprise and delight you in new ways.
Thanks to everyone. Thanks to you.